Hello, everyone. I'm Juan Salazar, Creative Product Manager of Nuke. And today we're at SIGGRAPH. And at SIGGRAPH, we normally show all the shiny and beautiful things and new things. And instead of that, this year I have decided to show you all the dirty tips and tricks that normally I traveled around the year. I see all of you around the world. And I've been listening the same questions and questions on how to do certain bits in Nuke Studio. So I decided to make all these tips and tricks out of that information that is coming from all the artists around the world. So what I'm gonna do in this case is I'm gonna pretend I'm a VFX house. I'm actually doing some shots for a different vendor. So I'm gonna do the conforming from some shots of VFX shots for someone else. I'm gonna run the whole project. First, I'm gonna start in Hiero. Then I'm gonna go into Hiero Player for an artist to work and do the review. And then I'm gonna move into Nuke Studio. And I'm gonna do all through this, just showing you different bits. I'm not gonna go through the whole process. I'm gonna just showing different tips and tricks on what to do in each process. I'm also gonna do this as if I was connected into a pipeline. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we're gonna be releasing some Python scripts so you can connect to a pipeline or sample scripts to explain you how to connect Nuke Studio and Hiero into a pipeline. So with that said, let's actually start this. So what I'm gonna do, the first thing, as always, is I'm gonna import my EDL, and I'm gonna go and import EDL and open, and I'm gonna go OK, and there you go. Cool. So I have my timeline. These are BFX shots. I don't have a whole sequence. As you can see, I have holes on my sequence. It's just the BFX shots that were sent to me by the main vendor. So what I'm going to do now is conform. I'm going to not take too much time on this. And the reason why is because thanks to the guys on Open Drives, I'm actually driving the whole session from a centralized storage that I have just in the back. So have a look at that. But it's amazing because all I have to do is just go open. And I'm going to conform this in full 4K, is 120 something shots, and it's going to go straight into it. And there you go. That's it. 121 shots, conform at 4K in less than a minute. So I'm going to move that to 4K. Let's make sure that that's 4K for DCP. And now we can see that's my 4K footage. I can actually press play, and I'm playing back from the centralized storage directly at my frame rate without any problems. So that is the first tip. Make sure you are connected to a good centralized storage so you can do all this work quite fast. So again, I have all my shots. I can review them. I'm not going to go through doing the matching to the reference frame and so on, because I always do that. And you just saw Jim doing it as well. So instead of that, I want to give you some other tips on how to do some editorial work. So the first thing I want to show you is about the spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet is probably the most powerful tool that you have in Nuke Studio. And I find it amazing that a lot of people don't work with it. One of the big questions I get asked all the time is, how do I do changes by numbers? So in this case, I know by a fact that all my shots are actually off on the actual handles. I'm supposed to have 8 handles at the front of all my shots, and I don't have 8 handles in front of all my shots. If I zoom around here, I'll be able to see that some of them have different handles. This one, for example, have 5. So I can actually check what is going on, and I'll have to do it manually or do it by hand here, but I have a very shaky hand, especially on a stage. So doing anything with the mouse is not gonna go perfect. So what I want to do is check on my spreadsheet how I can do that. So the first thing is I have my destination times and my source in, but this is my time code, and I need my time code to do my conforming. So instead of working in time code, what I'm gonna do is change this quite quickly to using time, frames. And by doing that, I can see that my shots, because they are coming from a different vendor, they're already organized in the right number of frames. So it's in 1001. So I can actually go and select all my shots here. And all I'm going to do, let's actually put it on source order. So I can actually select them in source order. So I'm going to grab everything that is within 1000 frames all the way down here. Let's actually grab up to here. And now all I need to do is a simple thing to do the change. You can always double click in any of these fields, and you can start doing maths. I can actually say, I'm supposed to have 8 frames at the front. So I'm going to say plus 8 frames, enter. And I just changed my whole timeline. And I just did a whole edit in a single couple of clicks. That is something that I can do with group of shots. Remember that anything that you select on the timeline gets selected on the spreadsheet. So I can find those clips, do changes very, very easily. So that was the first thing. Obviously, you can do that with any type of things in the editorial. One of the main things I get asked normally is about retiming. How do I do retiming in an actual detailed way? And that is a very easy way. I can actually go and say here, just change that value, and I can say 150. But that's the kind of the normal case. But what happens when editorial comes back to me and say, you know what, do a retime where this shot is 20 frames longer, but it stays on the same in and outs. So how do I do that? So one of the cool things, and very few people know this about Nuke Studio, is this little cog icon here. What it allows you to do is go and choose how the behavior is for all of these fields on your spreadsheet. So I can come in here, I can change, for example, the display of the speed between FPSs and percentages. I can change how am I going to do my retime behaviors based on duration or based on the source duration. But I can also have even more settings about it. I can actually decide how all my source in, destination out is going to change my retiming methods. So I can actually go, for example, in this case and say destination out, set it to retime, normally set to trim out. I'm going to set it to retime. And I can go into my destination out for that shot. And I'm going to say add plus 10 frames. And now I just actually got that retime to 93.1, which is not an exact number, but is the 10 frames that I was asked to add to that shot with the right retime. If they would have given me the value, the percentage value from any of the editorial packages, I probably wouldn't have been able to translate that value in. So this is the way that you can actually do very precise editorial work by adding the exact number of frames that you actually need on the different shots. So again, it's a lot about the value of using the different settings that you have to do your retiming or trimming of your shots. One of the other things that you can do is you can select several shots at a time and then compress them or expand them together by just plussing numbers into the spreadsheet, which is also very useful. So that was the first tip that I wanted to give you. With that one came up another one the other day that I was very, very surprised. Quite a senior artist came in around and asked me, hey, how do you select clips in the timeline? I'm a massive editor on my hotkeys. I'm not much of using my mouse and moving around. I like my hotkeys. How do I edit with my hotkeys? And it's very simple. All you need is to have a numpad on your keyboard, right? So if you have a numpad on your keyboard, all you need to do is press 8, and that selects a clip. And then you can actually move around with the arrow keys. So 6 and 5 and 4, I can move one side, the other side, right? I can decide that that shot I wanted in a new track. So I can do shift and comma. Shift and, what happened? That always happens when you actually want. Sorry, Alt, that's my fault. Alt and comma, right? And I can move it a track up. I can then move back down, select a different one, select that one, move that one up. Let's go down again. Let's find another one. Let's do that. Let's push that one up. And now the thing is, again, you can select through your tracks and through the different things. So I don't have to move between all my clips. I can actually move between the different tracks. This is not new on any editorial package, but it's quite a little trick and nice trick that a lot of people didn't realize existed in Nuke Studio. The other thing that is quite nice with this is, again, about if you want to do a specific editing. So let's say I want to move on a specific frame, and my shaky hands, again, I don't want to be trimming that by a frame. I ended up on 6, 6, 4. I cannot do that exactly. So the other thing I can do is just go to my cut, and what I'm going to do is, again, press 8. And if I'm on a cut, I'm actually selecting the cut. And if I move with my clip, you can see the orange line that is moving between the cuts. So now I can actually go and move into that one. So, oops, where am I? There you are. And I can just use, again, my dot and comma to start expanding my shot. So I can decide I want to start expanding that frame at a time. Or I can do shift and dot, and I can actually recontract it by 10 frames, right? So that is the way that you can actually do editorial work with your keyboard. It's a very powerful way. It's how you want to do very detailed editing in a very, very easy way.